We're joined now by General Colin Powell, former Secretary of State, served under Republican and Democratic administrations in the military, in the Foreign Service, in the White House. General Powell, you've pretty much seen it all. Your thoughts on today's inauguration?
George, I thought it was an excellent presentation, an excellent ceremony. And I was privileged to be there, and I just sat there listening to all that was being said, but at the same time, recognizing what had been said in that part of our country and in that building just, a few days ago. And I think they got flushed out today, because what the president was focusing on, the new president, he was talking about us. He was talking about our values. He was talking about what makes us great. He was talking about the history of our great country. We didn't go into, what the federal taxes are going to be or any foreign policy issues. It was a proper tone for today because it puts us in perspective. We're Americans. We have a great country. It's great today, just as great as it's ever been, even with the nonsense that took place here less than 2 weeks ago. So I was very pleased with it, and I thought it was structured very well. And, young Amanda was fabulous when she closed it with her song.
She sure was.
I was very proud. She sure was. And it was good. And George, I sat there just looking up at the dome of the Capitol in that kind of yellowish tone that it has, tint. And I just kept staring at it and listening to what the president was saying and rethinking what I saw 2 weeks ago from the riots that were taking place, and just saying to myself, we'll wash that out. We'll wash that out. This is the real America. This is what we stand for. Bringing in immigrants, making sure that we do everything we can to take care of the people who are ill, everything we can to give everybody a good living in this country, and especially to put the pandemic problem on #1 item in the country. And I think the president touched on all of those properly. And he didn't go drifting off into something that really wasn't on our heart and soul.
You're hitting on what so many of us have thought. I remember the first time I saw the Capitol in person, had that same thought, and then watched those events of 2 weeks ago. I can't imagine what that must have been like for you to see those barricades overrun at the Capitol.
It was terrible. I couldn't believe it. I've been in the Army for 35 years and then another 5 years as Secretary of State. And I saw a lot of things. There was a lot of controversy, a lot of things going on during that 40-year period. But never have I seen anything like this before. Never have I seen my fellow citizens pick up guns and weapons and with curses and baseball bats break into the Capitol of the United States of America. But they did, and they were wrong. And they were being encouraged by the former president of the United States of America, and he was wrong. And I think we're going to go right now. I think the president's today's message is going to really, really impact the country. And I think it's going to put us back on the track we're supposed to be on, but perhaps a strengthened track with a new president, a new vice president, and it's going to be changing things again. And what we have to do, George, is not simply scream at everybody. We have to start talking to all of our fellow citizens saying, hey, look, let's talk about what you think about this, that, or the other. And let's have a conversation. Don't curse me out. Don't say you're never going to speak to me again. Don't tell a lie about it. We're Americans. Tell the truth. Let's argue. And we did a lot. And, I was National Security Advisor for 2 years. I was a chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff for 4, secretary for 4. Had a lot of debates, a lot of arguments. But it was always in a manner that said, let's get to the solution. Let's not argue or curse each other out in order to avoid a solution or to lie about the solution.
Well, that's what I wanted to get to, because to have those debates, to make sure that those debates are constructive, we all have to agree to debate about facts, and that it seems to be something that was lost over the last 4 years. And I know you don't call yourself a Republican anymore. You've left the Republican Party. How do you explain how so many Republicans were willing to accept that black is white?
I have a hard time with that, George, because I've seen people on the street. I've talked to the average person on the street and asked why they're doing it. And they come up with an answer that's nonsensical, but they believe it. and they heard it principally through the president, President Trump. They took it to heart. He was a superb pusher of these kinds of things. And I've spoken to people who say, but how can you believe that? Well, we got it from the president. We got it from the party we are in and the committees of that party. And he got over 70 million votes on that basis. Fortunately, the current president, the new president, got it much higher than that. Here's one of the reasons I left the party and decided I had to think new about this. The beginning of the last administration, the president used the fact that Obama was born in another country. How could you believe this? And I would ask people, how could you believe this? He's got a birth. No, it's not a good birth certificate. What do you mean it's not a good? And what he was doing was making use of the fact that he could take advantage of what some blacks think and what some whites think. Because the people who were saying that he was born in another country wanted him to be born in another country. They wanted to be down on him because he is a foreigner, he's not an American. He's as much an American as I am. And people would say, what kind of American you are? The parents are immigrants. They came here in banana boats, and Powell, you seem to have done okay. I said, I did okay because I was an immigrant, because I came from a background. I loved the new country that my parents had moved to. I went to public schools, was able to get in the United States Army, and I was able to stay for all those years and was successful in the United States Army. That's who should always take opportunities like that and have opportunities like that. So this is a country I love. I will argue. I will debate anyone who wants to debate. And George, in one of the administrations I was party to, I won't mention the name, but there were some other fellows in the room who were good friends of mine. We served together a lot. But we would get into an argument in front of the president, and we were allowed to just argue our way to death. And after we got tired of arguing with each other, the president would say, okay, I've had enough, I understand. And then we were best friends again, the guy I was arguing with. We never let it go to our heads. We never let it go to the detriment of the United States of America. And that's what we have to get back to. The real challenge we have today is to clean up the mess that was left by the previous administration, the lies, the disingenuous positions that were adopted. You've heard from the news earlier that the president, the current new president, is going to start looking at some of the things we worked our way out of or just ignored and left. We should do that, because I've seen some real problems facing us in arms control or in other areas that we walked away from. We shouldn't have walked away from the economic agreements that we were on the verge of making. We shouldn't have walked away from climate change. We shouldn't have walked away from the INF treaty. We shouldn't have walked away from the agreement we had with Iran. Now, we can debate them, and I used to do this quite a bit when I was chairman and when I was Secretary of State. What do you think? I want to hear you, and let them tell me what they think. I'll tell them what I think. And then we'll have a relaxing evening. But the answer is not, my army is bigger than your army, and we're going to, nobody's looking for a battle of that kind. But it seems to have become part of our thinking in the United States, America, and in our government. And I think we have to change some of the attitudes we've always taken to some of our potential enemies and probable friends. It can be done. I've done it. I've seen it done.
As you said, you're the child of immigrants who rose to become chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, rose to become Secretary of State. Another child of immigrants made history today, broke a huge barrier. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris followed in your footsteps today.
Fabulous. Fabulous. She's done very, very well, obviously. But I don't know nothing's going to stop her. I think she is terrific. And she fit right in today. And I think she's fitting right in within the American society. She's a part of that American society. I haven't had a chance to talk to her, but I look forward to it.
Secretary Powell, thanks for your time this afternoon. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.